Hi everyone, so for today's project I'm just going to make a very simple card using real red A4 cardstock and the Sweetest Christmas, which is the designer series paper from Stampin' Up. Now in this paper the colours are garden green, pool party, real red and sweet sorbet. So very limited colours but a nice colourway. You get two sheets of every design and they're both double-sided. So this is the front, this is the back. And you've got the small candy canes and the green stripes. This is the one I'm thinking of using. So you've got all the colours there in one go in the stripes, and on the back it's a red with a white polka dot. Then you've got stripes again with green and white on the back, and then you've got small candy canes again but with the green colour in it. And then you've got like the sweet sorbet and real red. And then you've got this red and white stripe that's got the little red background with the white kind of diamonds in it. It's really pretty paper. But as I say, the one I'm thinking about using is this one. So I'm going to make it from start to finish, just in case there's anybody that's new to my channel or new to card making and you're not sure. And then on my desk, I've got this box. If you were with me for World Card Making Day last month at the beginning of October, you'll have seen that I had this box with all these different kind of scraps and things in it. I'm thinking about using one of the gnomes that I've already got cut out and maybe one of the gnome houses and possibly one of the stitch rectangles, which, as I say, is in this box. But I'll get to that in a minute. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is a piece of UK A4 cardstock. So the size of this is 11 3/4 inches by 8 1/4. I'm going to cut this in half at 4 1/8 on my trimmer. So that will give me 2 card bases, but I'm only going to use one for now. And then because this is 11 3/4, I'm going to score it in half again, which is 5 7/8. So again, I'm just going to use my trimmer rather than get my scoreboard out. And our paper trimmer comes with a cutting blade and a grey blade, which is a scoring blade. So just make sure I'm on 5 7/8 and just give that a score. So that, I think, is all I need for a minute. Now I'm going to fold this in half and burnish this with my bone folder. In fact, I do need the trimmer. So what I'm going to do now, this is going to be a top opening card. I'm going to put this back in the trimmer, and this fold line here I'm going to line up at 2.5, I think. So I'm going to put the fold line on the 2.5 or thereabouts, and I'm going to chop a piece off. Okay, so this is what we've got now so far, 2.5 inch section here, and this is what's come off here. So now I'm going to see what this is. This is just under 3.5. So I'm going to make it 2 inches. So I'm going to chop this again now at 2 inches. So just bring these back in and show you this is what I've done. So I cut my piece of A4 cardstock in half on the short side right down the middle, folded it in half, put the fold line into the trimmer and cut it at 2.5. And then with the piece that I cut away, I've cut that in half. So I'm now left with this. This smaller piece is going to go back to form the front base of the card, and then I'm going to turn this one around, and this is going to anchor these two pieces together. Okay, now because I'm using red card, I'm going to put a piece of white card on the inside, so I'm just going to pop that on one side for a minute. I'm going to bring in a piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm going to cut this down at 3 7/8 by 5 5/8, and this is going to act as the piece inside where I can write my greeting or do any more stamping or whatever I want to do. So I'm just going to pop those back in there. So this is what we've got so far. So from the designer series paper now, I want to cut a matting layer for the top and this bottom section. So this was 2.5 and this one is about 1.25. Okay. And because I want to have a bit of a border showing around the edge, I'm going to cut it at 3 7/8. So I'm going to use my 12 by 12 paper and cut a strip that's 3 7/8. Let's just make sure that that'll do, yeah. So that was 2.5. So I'm going to cut this at 2 1/4. Hopefully this is going to be right. So that's going to go on there. And then I want a piece to go on here. So what did I say this was? About 1 1/4. So if I cut this at 1 inch, because I know the width's right, because I've just cut it all in one go, that's going to give me the bottom. Then this piece that I cut that's from the middle, I'm thinking that I'm going to use one of my stitch rectangles, and I've got a couple of different sizes, and that bigger one just nicely fits in there. So that's what I think I'm going to use for that. Then I've got a gnome house and a little gnome. So I'm thinking that I might put half the gnome house and then the gnome in front. So I only really need to colour half of this house in. I don't know what this is going to look like because I've not made it. We'll see. I've also got, I don't know if I've got any in here, I've got these die cut snowflakes that were out last year and they kind of went into hibernation, but they came back, and I have been using them, and on some cards I've been chopping them in half, but don't seem to have a stray half. I may use one of these. Oh, there's a half. I might use one of those, I'm not sure. So these are wonderful snowflakes. There's 24 in a pack. So there's 6 on each sheet. So that's 4 sheets, isn't it? And they're just die cut and you pop them out. And on one side, they're like a plain flat white. Not sure how well you'll see this. And on the other side, they're kind of a bit shiny. I may or may not use that. I'll leave that there, I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my stampin' paste mat. I use this when I'm stamping with photopolymer because it gives a bit of a cushioning, but I also use it when I'm colouring. So, my little gnome house, I'm thinking pool party, because there's pool party in the paper. So let me see if I can find my pool party stamping blend. So I've got pool party. I'm thinking, as I say, I'm only going to use half of it. So, and then for the door, I've got grey granite, light and dark, or I could use crumb cake. Grey granite might be nicer. Yeah, I'm going to use grey granite. I think I'll do the door first. I've got grey granite dark, and our stamping blends have a bullet tip end and they have a brush tip end, which is softer and longer. So because this is only a small area, I'm going to use the bullet tip. I'm going to colour round the edge of the door in the dark. So that's just the dark. Then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go over the lines that are in the stamped image. And then I'm going to colour the rest of it in using the light. So this is going to give a little bit of shading, and then just because it's a bigger area now, I'm just going to use the brush tip end and just colour in. As I say, I probably don't need to colour all this door in because I'm thinking that I'm going to chop it off the kind of edge of the card. I'm going to do the same with the little window. Just going to go round the circle with the dark and then blend in. And then for the house, let me just have a look at this. As I say, I don't know whether this is going to look right. I probably don't need to colour this. I'm just thinking I'll colour this half. So I can use the brush tip end. So if I kind of draw an imaginary line there, and just colour this in using the pool party. Now, when I first started buying our Stampin' Up blends, you could buy them separately. So you could buy the lights or the darks, but now they come as a combo pack. And in the pool party, I've only got the light, but if you layer up colour, you can kind of get a similar effect. So I'm just using the bullet end now, just to go over those lines, and then I'll just go over it all again. I say no idea whether this is going to work because I've not made a sample, but that was my thinking. So I'm going to put dimensionals now on this side only. And because our blends are alcohol markers, you will see the colour coming through on the back of your cardstock, and that is normal. So don't worry if you think it bleeds through. And that's why it's always best if you're using blends to, you know, maybe not necessarily colour directly onto the front of your card so that when you open your card, you'll see all the blend underneath. I'm just going to find my piercing tool. Take the backs off these, and this is what I'm thinking, layering this up like so. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to chop that off. So I'm just going to use the edge of this die cut shape. That can go in the bin. And then I've got my little gnome. So for my little gnome, I'm going to bring in some real red. I'm going to colour his hat in real red because that will tie in with the cardstock. I mean, if I wasn't filming, I'd be able to have this directly under my eye line and I'd be able to see better where I'm going. So my colouring might not be brilliant. And I love using the alcohol markers because when you colour in, you don't get any of those kind of street lines. I'm going to bring in some Pool Party and just colour in, not Pool Party, Petal Pink, and colour in his nose. And then I'm going to use the same grey, but I'm going to use the lighter thing. So light grey granite again. And I'm going to colour in his little hands or mittens, whatever they are. And his feet. Or his shoes. Not doing very good with my descriptions today, am I? And then bring the pool party back in and just colour in his sleeves. And you can just kind of see a bit of his clothing here. Behind his beard, like so. And then I'm just going to bring the grey granite back in and just go over the lines that the Stampin' Up artist has put in on his beard. And then I'm going to bring in my colour lifter and just kind of lift some of that colour out, just so it goes a bit paler. So it just kind of highlights his beard, but you know, doesn't really do anything else. And I think that is probably going to be enough of the colouring. So let me just put my blends away. So I'm thinking that he's going to go kind of like that. Now again, I'm going to pop him up. I'm going to put dimensionals just on the right hand side because he's obviously going to overlap the house a little. And I'm going to put a bit of wet glue on the other side. So a little bit on his hat and down the side. Pop him there like so. And then I'm going to bring the card in. So I'm going to put the white piece inside. Being as though I've got my wet glue out, I'll use that. So that's going to go as best I can centrally to the inside of the card. And this is going to go on the front at the top. I mean, all this paper's lovely. I can see me using all this pack again. I've gone through virtually the whole pack of the Storybook Gnomes. That's the adjoining piece. So this piece needs to go on here. So just make sure that my lines are going in the right direction. On there like so. So that's going to go back to the bottom of the card. And then this piece is the piece that's going to anchor the two together. So I'm going to put that down flat, but then I think I'll pop all this up. So I only need adhesive in this section and this section. So we'll start off by putting that top and bottom, and then I can see where the adhesive is. That's going to go like so, and I've not got any of the adhesive peeking through, so I'll just turn that over. Oops, that wasn't good, was it? I flicked the piece off. I'll put some glue back on that again. Pop that back down. I want to stand that up so that that front piece at the bottom is flush with the back piece. And I'll just hold on to it to make sure it's fully stuck. Turn it over and burnish it. So now I'm going to lift this up. And obviously I've got a muddy mess there now, but I can erase that with my adhesive, or what I could do is bring in this and put a piece across the bottom on the inside just to, so I think that's what I'll do. So I'll bring in my trimmer and I'll cut a piece about 1 inch. It's just because I've not let that piece dry properly, and when I flicked it over, that bottom bit jumped off, and because I closed the card front, it transferred the adhesive. But these things happen, don't they? So I'm going to leave this in, because then obviously you know if the same thing happens to you. If you're new to card making, you know, you've not ruined it. There's always a way to retrieve it. What I could have done, I could have waited till it dried, and then, where is it? Oh, let me find it and I'll show you. I've got this adhesive eraser, and you can use this once the adhesive dried. You just literally rub it off. This is in my Amazon favourites, which you can get to from the shop tab on my website, which is here. So that's how that's looking now. And then this, I'm going to pop up on dimensionals. And I've not used the snowflake, but I don't think it needs it. Or should I pop it in kind of behind there? I might pop it in like that actually. So let's just pop a little bit of dry adhesive here, because it'll just be a bit quicker for the video. And as I say, one side is shiny and one side's matte, so I'm going to put the shiny side up, and then I'll lay this on top. Just bring my little tray in to get the bits off me. And then this can go kind of centrally to the red square, like so. And then I've got some embellishments. Looking to see if I've got any. Here we go. I've got some red. These are our red rhinestone basic jewels. And I've had these ages and I hardly use them. So now is a good time to, so I'll put 3 on. Everything I'm using, so any of the tools I'm using, the trimmer, the take your pick tool, the adhesives, they're always listed underneath the YouTube video, or if you're watching on my blog, they're always listed in the blog post as well. And they've all got direct links to my Stampin' Up shop, where you can purchase any of the items, or I generally place an order once a month. If you want to order directly with me, just message me, tell me what you want. You can pay me by bank transfer. I'll order the product and then post it out to you. So depending on what you're ordering, obviously you'll have to pay the postage, but it will be cheaper than the postage from Stampin' Up. So that's today's card. So it stands like so. Although you know you can't see it in the camera, I'll make sure I get some good pictures of it for the blog post. And then it opens up, you've got a place to write your words, or you could stamp another greeting. And that's just made using, you know, a piece of card, a little bit of the designer series paper. This tiny amount here at the bottom is all I've used for that one card. I already had the gnome and the gnome house stamped, and I'd cut them previously, as I say, with my ScanNCut. I'd just cut a load of shapes when I was doing World Card Making Day at the beginning of October. You're not going to see this video till sometime in November. And they'd just been on my desk, and I've been dipping into them randomly for, you know, doing odd projects. But that's today's project, as I say, using the, forgotten the name of the paper already, Sweetest Christmas, designer series paper, and a bit of red cardstock. So I hope you like the video. Please do subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It doesn't cost you anything. Nothing happens to you. You don't get mithered by anybody. YouTube tell me that about 40% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. I am trying to get to 50,000 subscribers, and it massively would help me if everybody that wasn't subscribed and that regularly watches does subscribe to my channel. Anyway, that's today's project. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.